of a Tea Party candidate primarying them. And I can't do that, man. Rush Limbaugh had me on his program tomorrow. You know, it ain't the first time the president's invoked Rush's name.
No, he's been doing a lot of that, actually.
Blaming all of his I can't get dones on one radio host. One guy.
A radio host. The man doesn't hold an elected office. He's not even a mayor.
He has nothing to do with policies being made in this country. Nothing. But I tell you what he does have. He does have a rather large listener base. Not just of conservatives, but there's about as many progressives that listen to him as well. Now, they're listening to him so that they can play his audio clips and make him sound like this mean old bad man. But he's got a whole mess of listeners that hear him every day when he does just like we do. He plays these people's own words. He lays it out and shows people exactly what's going on. He shines that little light of truth in there.
Although that huge audience that he has?
Voters?
Yes, they are. They're voters. They're constituents. Every single one of them is a constituent of a congressman.
Yep. And I would be willing to bet that he's got all 50 states covered, too. That there's people in all 50 states that listen to Rush Limbaugh's show. The president is right.
So is it Rush Limbaugh that they need to be, that all these Congress people, is it Rush Limbaugh that they need to be afraid of? Or is it their constituents? It better be their constituents.
See,
they
that's
need
their
to start
problem.
learning that they can be fired.
That's their problem. These people act like those seats belong to them. Those congressional seats and those congressional districts are theirs personally. And then you get these young upstarts like Ted Cruz coming along, throwing monkey wrenches all in the works, bringing up those pesky constituents and getting them all fired up and telling them things like the truth. Boy, I tell you what, he's just going to ruin the way business is done in Washington. That's their attitude.
Yeah.
These guys, man, these Ted Cruz fanatics, man, they're going to ruin the way we do business. We've been doing business like this for 100 years.
And, you can't trust Ted Cruz because he doesn't listen to those consultants and strategists.
That's right, man. We've got these people that we pay these people good money to tell us what to do. And here comes Ted Cruz just messing it all up.
Going and instead of listening to the all those consultants, he's out there listening to what the constituents want.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Here's Howard Dean. This is what Howard Dean thinks about a good old Teddy boy.
First of all, Obamacare is, in fact, going to, as John McCain suggested in 2008, eventually going to separate health care from employment. That's actually a good idea which John McCain put forward, and that's going to happen gradually and carefully. Second of all, I don't want the Texas Insurance Commissioner being the commissioner up here in Vermont. And so buying insurance across state lines is a terrible idea. We've had universal health insurance for all our kids for 20 years. They have 22% of their children uninsured in Texas. I don't want anything to do with Texas's health care system in Vermont, and I don't want our people buying Texas health insurance. So these are crazy ideas that are from the far right. He's a slick spokesman, and God help us if he ever does get to be anything more than the senator from Texas.
I bet he does feel like that. God help us.
He don't want... and this is where the arrogance comes through. And this is where the progressives are shown to be what they really are. The arrogance to sit there and say, I don't want anything from Texas and Vermont. Well, screw you, buddy. This ain't about you.
And oddly enough, Texas seems to be one of the few states in the union that's actually turning a profit right now. They're one of the few states in the union that haven't let, Obama's great big old hand of government shut them down at every turn and tax them to death.
And if you're so hacked off that 22% of Texans don't have insurance, Why won't you let them go outside of Texas to buy their insurance?
You know what I heard?
Why you want to keep them, dependent on only what's available in Texas? See, that's the whole mess up there, and that's where they're shooting us all a line of crap.
But you know what I heard in that? He hears 22% of Texans don't have medical insurance. I heard 78% of Texas does.
Well,
what I'm hearing is there's a whole
racist.
boatload of the state of Texas that is working, that have jobs, that they can afford insurance. I think that speaks pretty loudly. I wonder if the state of Vermont can say that they've got that many people in their state working and having insurance. But you're right. What people like Howard Dean and the progressives, the way they look at it is this isn't, if we don't have total control over it, then we don't need any part. We don't want any part of it.
That's it exactly.
If we can't keep it under our thumb, if we can't give it to you, then we can't take it away from you. Therefore, we don't want any part of it. And that's really what it amounts to. That old adage of what the government gives you, the government can take away. They want to be able to hold that sort of thing, not just over our heads, but over a future Congress's head. Oh, see, they don't want. They're so afraid of Obamacare being defunded because they want to give it a chance to become so deeply entrenched in our everyday lives, like, say, Social Security, disability, Medicare, and things like that. They want it to take such a hold that it would be impossible for Congress to do away with it. You know what I mean?
And basically, it boils right back down to arrogance. Because, yes, these people are in fear, but they're also really, really arrogant. And
look, I got another example of arrogance. While we're talking about arrogance, I can show you another example of how arrogant the progressives are. I've played Mary Harf. She don't want to answer no questions. We talked about how Jay Carney, when he's up there behind that podium, if you asking questions and it's got uncomfortable answers, then he ain't gonna talk about it, and there's no way you're gonna get an answer out of him. Yesterday, one of MSNBC's weekend hosts, Karen Finney, she calls into Hugh Hewitt's radio show. And over the weekend, she had been talking about how Ted Cruz reminds her of Joe McCarthy. We've talked about this comparison before.
Right.
It is one of those little straw man arguments that you could just pick apart piece by piece, which is pretty much what Hugh Hewitt was doing. Listen to how she handles it. You want to hear some arrogance? This is how progressives handle the uncomfortable truths.
Now, I caught some of your show this weekend. I want to play the intro to your segment about Ted Cruz.
In case you haven't heard, Texas Senator Ted Cruz is a man on a mission. He wants to take away your health care, even if that means bringing down our government or a war within the GOP. But Cruz's rhetoric isn't just detrimental to his party. It's contributing to a broader environment of paranoia that could have very real consequences for our democracy. The fear-stoking is reminiscent of another senator, a man from Wisconsin on his own mission. He also wanted to take his country back. Then it was from the communists who had supposedly infiltrated it. His name, of course, Joe McCarthy. And while Cruz's mission this time around might be different, the rhetoric sounds eerily the same.
Now, Karen Finney, couple of questions. Number one, when you said about Joe McCarthy, you wanted to take it back from the communists who had supposedly infiltrated. Did any communists infiltrate the United States government?
Well, I think if we go back to the McCarthy hearings, it's pretty clear that he, created, a culture of paranoia and fear that people later recognized was, people sort of bought into it and then recognized that it was absolutely misplaced. I mean, that's the point.
But Karen, did any communists infiltrate our government?
Please, go ahead and name them.
Can you? I'm trying to figure out if you know if any of them did.
Here's the point. No, there weren't communists who infiltrated our... I mean, that's like Michelle Bachmann accusing my friend Huma Abedin.
No, actually, it's not.
Muslim Brotherhood because
no, it's not.
That, she may have known,
this is just
may have known somebody.
This is just a historical question. Was Alger Hiss a communist?
You know what? But can we... I understand where you're going with this.
Just a question.
But again, I think that's distracting from the point I was trying to make. And the point...
You can't bring yourself to say Alger Hiss was a communist spy. What?
That's not the point.
Oh, I know that, but you can't say it. It's like watching the Fonz say I was wrong.
You know it.
I know that. I know it's not your point. I'm just amazed. I'm amazed that you can't say Alger Hiss was a communist spy. It's like the Fonz not being able to say he was wrong. Karen, are you there? Karen hung up. Karen.
That's how they answered the uncomfortable truths.
Yeah, just can't talk about it.
Ted Cruz
she couldn't bring herself to even say it.
Ted Cruz is an evil man, and he is willing to shut down your government and not pay your soldiers and not let anyone have any of their benefits just so he can defund Obamacare, and he sees socialists behind every corner. He is just like Senator Joe McCarthy. Yeah, but wasn't McCarthy right? Look, that's beside the point. No, that is the point. Didn't we find out that there was at least, we can name at least one proven communist that did infiltrate the government. No, you can't, Alger Hiss. Click.
Yeah.
Click. See, if Jay Carney could hang up on the press during those press meetings or press briefings, he would so have already done that. There would have been a click practically every day.
Within like the first 3 minutes of taking questions, man.
These people cannot handle the uncomfortable truths. They are completely unwilling to deal with them. And you know what? There's a word for people like that. Down here in Alabama, I can't speak for everybody else, but down here in Alabama, we call those cowards.
Yeah.
If you're unwilling to even face your own truths, you are a coward. If you can't answer, or if you refuse to answer to the very people that put you in office because you know that you are in the wrong, then you are a coward. That's what everyone in MSNBC is, virtually. They're all cowards because none of them are willing to state any of the uncomfortable truths about their own parties. Casey and I have been more than willing to admit the shortcomings of libertarians, Republicans.
And you know what?
Ourselves.
This is a good point, and I see what you did there.
That was pretty
That was a very skillful segue.
Yeah, thank
you. To the next and hopefully the last little story of the evening. Right before the show started, I posted a blog about a Project Veritas video.
James O'Keefe.
Yes. And look, we didn't clip it. Marty offered to clip some audio. And I told him, no, I'll post this video and some links back to other Project Veritas projects. And, people can go and listen to it and watch the whole thing, because watching the video is instructional. The one that Project Veritas puts out as a themed video. Watch it from start to finish. And then what I like about Project Veritas is they post up their raw footage too. And it's all on YouTube. It's easy to find. Google it, go to YouTube, search it. It's theirs. And I did provide some helpful links.
And O'Keefe is really good at forcing uncomfortable truths down progressive throats.
Well, see, they put him in on probation.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't make videos. They essentially robbed him of his freedom of speech.
Yep.
Okay. You know why? See, he's a blogger.
Just a blogger.
He doesn't work for the New York Times. He doesn't work for the Washington Post. He doesn't work for HuffPo. He doesn't even work for the Blaze or PJ Media or,
anybody.
He's got Project
he works
Veritas.
For Project Veritas.
Project Veritas works for itself. And